Chapter 3, Section 3, function notation. I don't think function notation is too terribly hard. So hopefully we can knock these notes out real quick and we all understand it. Get our assignment, we call it a day. Okay? Function notation. So, chapter 3, section 2, we talked about how a linear equation can be written in the form y equals mx plus b, correct? You guys remember that? That's how I tell if an equation is a linear function or not. If I can write it in the form y equals mx plus b. Correct? Does everyone agree with that? By naming a linear function f, you can also write the function using what we call function notation. It looks different, but it's completely the same as y equals mx plus b. This is how we would read it. F of x equals mx plus b. So this is function notation right here. And it's not f times x, it's f of x. It's a function with regards to the variable x. The notation, f of x, is another name for y. So we just treat f of x like y. F of x is just one variable. Does that make sense? We just treat it like y. If f is a function and x is in its domain, so x is my x values, then f of x represents the output of f corresponding to the input x. So we just changed y with f of x. We're still treating it like y though. F of x are still my outputs. It's still my range. You can use letters other than f to name a function, such as g or h. I could have g of x. I could have h of x. I could have r of x. Those are all just forms of function notation. We just treat all of those like y. Does that make sense? It's just another way to represent y. But you will see it a lot in the future in your future math classes, so that's why we got to cover it. Okay? Does everyone understand? F of x is one variable, and we're treating it like, what do we treat? Yeah, we treat it like y. Okay? Any questions about that? Example 1, evaluating a function. Evaluate f of x equals negative 4x plus 7 when x equals 2 and x equals negative 2. If I gave you y equals negative 4x plus 7, I told you to evaluate this linear function when x equals 2 and x equals negative 2, what would you do? Plug them in for?
X and x.
For x, right? I'm going to do the same thing even when it's in function notation. Okay? So it's telling me to let x equal 2 first. So in my function notation, I'm going to replace all my x values with 2. So this would be saying that I'm finding f of 2. I'm finding the function evaluated when the x value is 2. Once again, this is not f times 2. F of 2 is just our y variable. It's our output that we're going to get. Okay? So it just stays as f of 2. Order of operations over here, what comes first, multiplication or addition? What? Multiplication, negative 4 times 2 gives me? Negative 8. Negative 8 plus 7 gives me? Negative 1. So, the function evaluated at the x value of 2 is negative 1. And this actually creates an ordered pair for me, a solution for my function here. What was the x value that I plugged in? 2. What was the y value that was spit out when I plugged in 2? What output did I get when I plugged in 2?
Negative 1.
-1. So my ordered pair here would be 2, -1. -1 is just my y value. Because remember, we're treating f of x like y. So when I'm finding f of 2, that's my y value. Okay? Any questions on that? Am I done with the problem?
You still need to do -2.
Yeah, I still have to evaluate my function when x equals -2. I'm going to approach it the exact same way. This time I'm replacing all my x values with -2. So I'm finding f of -2. What's -4 times -2? +8. What's 8 plus 7? 15. So in this case, what would my ordered pair be?
-2 and 15.
-2 comma 15. There you go. So the function evaluated at 2 is -1. The function evaluated at -2 is 15. Any questions on that? Does everyone see how we're just treating f of x like y? We good there?
Yeah.
Can I move on? All right, let f of t be the outside temperature, degrees Fahrenheit, t hours after 6 a.m. Explain the meaning of each statement. So f of t is my y value. T is like my x value, but we're calling it t. And notice that t is the number of hours after 6 a.m. Okay? So I'm explaining what each of these statements is saying in regards to what my scenario is. Okay? So letter A. F of 0 equals 58. F of 0 equals 58. What is that statement meaning if f of t is the outside temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, t hours after 6 a.m.?
0 hours.
Yeah, so what time is it 0 hours after 6 a.m.? 6 a.m. So I could say it is 58 degrees Fahrenheit at 6 a.m. Does everyone understand how we got that? They plugged in 0 for t, correct? Because this is usually f of t. They plug 0 in for t. T is the number of hours after 6 a.m. So this is 0 hours after 6 a.m. So I'm at 6 a.m. Does that make sense? My f of t value equals 58. That's our y value. That's the outside temperature in degrees Fahrenheit. So I know that at 6 a.m. it's 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Does that make sense? Any questions on A? Letter B. F of 6 equals n. F of 6 equals n. Someone want to take a shot at this one and interpret this meaning for me? F of 6 equals n. Well, let's talk through this real quick. What's our t value here? 6. They replaced t with 6. Does everyone see that? So, what time are they talking about?
12 a.m.
Not 12 a.m.
Yeah.
12 p.m., right? Because this is 6 hours after 6 a.m., so it's 12 p.m., noon, right? So your F of T value is the outside temperature, so what is the temperature at noon? In degrees Fahrenheit. So I'd say it is in degrees Fahrenheit at 12 p.m. Or if you put noon, that'd be fine. If you put 6 hours after 6 a.m., that would be fine. There's kind of multiple ways to write this, but at that time, it is in degrees Fahrenheit. Any questions on letter B? Letter C, f of 3 is less than f of 9. F of 3 is less than f of 9. Anyone want to take a shot at this one?
Is it? It's colder 3 degrees after 6 a.m. than it is after 9 hours after 6 a.m.
So what time would that be?
9. It's colder at 9 a.m. than it is at. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's telling me the temperature 3 hours after 6 a.m. is less than, so colder than, the temperature 9 hours after 6 a.m., which is 3 o'clock p.m., right? Does everyone understand that? So, the temp is colder at 9 a.m. than the temp at 3 p.m. Because 3 p.m. is 9 hours after 6 a.m. 9 a.m. is 3 hours after 6 a.m. Saying that temperature is less than the 3 p.m. temperature. There's multiple ways you could have worded it. You could have said the temperature at 9 a.m. is less than the temperature at 3 p.m. There's kind of multiple ways to word it. But does everyone get the gist of what this is saying? And how we interpreted it based on what our T represents and what our F of T represents? Is there any questions, comments, or confusion there? Can I move on? All right. For h of x equals 2/3 x minus 5, find the value of x for which h of x equals -7. For h of x equals 2/3 x minus 5, find the value of x for which h of x equals -7. Any ideas how I'm going to figure this problem out? Can anyone help me out here? Just throw out some ideas here. It's telling me to find a value, so I'm essentially evaluating here. So I'm probably going to have to plug something in somewhere. What would that something be, and where would I plug it in?
After 2/3.
For x, it's a good thought, but does it tell me that x equals -7? What does it tell me? H of x. We treat h of x like what? Y. So it's telling me that y equals -7, and it wants me to find the value of x where the y value is -7. Does that make sense? So these can kind of be worded a little differently. You just got to you have to pay attention to what information it gives you. Okay? So I'm replacing h of x with what? -7. And I'm going to solve for x, and that'll give me the x value when my y value is negative 7. Over here, it told me that x equaled those numbers, right? Once again, it's telling me h of x here equals that number to plug in. Okay? So, what would be my first step to get x by itself? This is just a multi-step equation here. What would be my first step here?
Would you add 5?
Yep, I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 5 gives me what? What? Negative 2. I still have this 2/3 x over here. How would I get x by itself? Divide both sides by 2/3 because x is being multiplied by 2/3. Negative 2 divided by 2/3 gives me what? Negative 3. So the value of x, for which h of x equals negative 7, is negative 3. So if I wanted to write this ordered pair down, how would I write it?
Negative 3, negative.
There you go. Negative 3, comma, negative 7. You don't have to write the ordered pair. I just want you guys to see the correlation between, hey, negative 3 is my x value, negative 7 is my h of x value, aka my y value. Okay? So make sure you pay attention to what they're saying equals what. Whether it's your h of x or f of x, or equaling a number, or your x value or your t value equaling a number. I forgot to mention this on example 1, but sometimes you'll see it written like this: evaluate the function when x equals 2. It might also tell you, another way to word it would be to say, find f of 2 and f of negative 2. That would mean the same thing as what it's asking you on this problem. Does that make sense? Because they replaced their x value with 2 here, so I've got to replace my x value with 2. I replaced my x value with negative 2, so I've got to replace my x value with negative 2. That'd be the same thing. Okay? Any questions on example 3? Last example here, we're going to graph here. Graph f of x equals 2x plus 5. Graph f of x equals 2x plus 5. F of x equals 2x plus 5. How do you think we're going to graph this? How did we create a graph yesterday? Do we remember? Anyone remember how we created our graph yesterday? If we were here. We created a table of values. So that's what we're going to do here as well. Instead of a y column, what's my second column going to be? F of x. But we treat f of x like y, so this will still give us our ordered pairs that we can graph. Does it give me specific x values to plug in? No. For the most part, all the functions we're going to be graphing are going to be linear functions. So my domain of a linear function will always, almost always, be all real numbers. So it does not matter which x values I pick to plug in. Okay? Does that make sense? I usually like to try to pick x values that I know are going to be on my graph. So I'm not going to pick like negative 25 here. I'm not going to pick positive 30. Okay? I like to, if I'm able to, Just keep it nice and simple. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Like I said though, our domain here for this linear function is all real numbers, so it does not matter which x values I pick. Okay? So, how do I get my f of x values from these x values? Plug them in for x to my function, right? So for -2, I'm replacing my x's with -2 and working it out. What's 2 times -2? 2 times -2? 2 times -2? -4. -4 plus 5. 1. Thank you. So the y value, the f of x value that goes with -2 is 1. Everyone okay with that? Then I'm going to do the same thing for -1. Plug -1 in. F of -1 equals 2 times -1 plus 5. What's 2 times -1? -2. What's -2 plus 5? 3. So my corresponding y value, f of x value with -1 is 3. 0 is usually always a good number to plug in. It's usually pretty easy to plug in. Because what's 2 times 0? 0. What's 0 plus 5? 5. I always like to plug in 0. Is everyone okay if I don't write out me plugging 1 and 2 in? If I just do it in our heads. Okay, plug 1 in. What's 2 times 1? 2. 2 plus 5? 7. And then plug 2 in. What's 2 times 2? 4. 4 plus 5? 9. Everyone okay with that? I want you to have at least 5 values to plug in. Okay? So, like I said, it does not matter which x values you pick because our domain is all real numbers. But generally, we like to pick numbers that will usually help us out or are easy to plug in. Okay? So, I'm graphing these ordered pairs, -2, 1, -1, 3, 0, 5, 1, 7, 2, 9. That'll create my line for my linear function. Okay? So -2, 1, which 2 directions am I going?
Left and down.
Left 2,
Left 2, up 1.
up 1. Left 2, up 1. Put my ordered pair. We okay with graphing ordered pairs? -1, 3, which 2 directions and how many units?
Left 1, up 3.
Left 1, up 3. It's a -1, so I'm going left. +3, so I'm going up. Left 1, up 3. We okay with that one? 0, 5. Which 2 directions, how many units am I going?
Stay in the middle.
Staying in the middle on that y-axis, going up how many?
5.
Going left and right 0, going up 5. 1, 7. Which 2 directions? And how many units?
Go right 1.
Right 1,
7.
up 7. It's a +1 and a +7. And then 2, 9.
2 right up 9.
Right 2, up 9. Okay, so there's our 5 points. I'm now going to connect my points with a line. Put arrows on my line saying, hey, this graph's going on forever and ever in those 2 directions. Any questions on that? So when it asks you to create a graph, you're creating a table of values with how many values for your x values? At least 5. You can have more if you want, but at least 5. Plot your points, or plug them in to get your y values, plot your points, connect them, draw your arrows. Are there any questions about function notation? Here's your assignment. Page 127, numbers 1 through 27, odds. Page 127, numbers 1 through 27, odds. Make sure you get this written down. Make sure you get the correct heading on your paper. Name, date, period, assignment in the upper right-hand corner of your paper. If you do not finish this in class, this will be due Friday, the 27th on Canvas. Are there any questions about the notes before I end the recording?